Welcome. Another wonderful day to be with you and to share some of the wisdom of Bhagavad Gita. How are you? I am myself. We're going to talk more about not just the Gita, but all the contents that surround it. Because as I've mentioned, the Gita is just a tiny sliver in a large epic work called the Mahabharata. I mean, if you look at the Mahabharata, I have the complete 10-volume translation from Sanskrit to English of one of the versions, and it's huge. Like it would take me, I could hug it maybe like this, and the Gita itself is just a few pages in it. Yet the Gita is what gets all the focus and all the study. It's popular, people know about it, people read it, reread it, apply it to their lives, talk about it with others. So why is that? I mean, it's this tiny sliver, and the part before it, not so much talked about, and the part after it, definitely not much talked about. So we're exploring this a little bit today. Why? Well, the Gita describes the biggest struggle of the hero, Arjun. The biggest struggle on the outside looks like he's going to be fighting in a civil war and has to face and probably kill his friends, family, loved ones. But the deeper conflict is within, and it's a conflict of who he is versus who he thinks he should be. And I believe that we focus on this particular struggle because that's the heart of the human condition. Who we are versus who we think we should be. And that sense of who we should be can be self-generated, but often it's very much influenced by our families, our culture, other people's expectations. How are we successful? How do we, if you've ever heard that live up to your potential kind of thing, Arjun's heard that his whole life. Well, what if the thing you seem to, that people think you have potential in is not the thing you want to do? So this struggle grabs our attention. We express it in various ways. Arjun expresses it in 18 different ways, one for each of the Gita. For example, at the start, he expresses it as, I don't know what to do. I'm just going to give up. And then a little while later, he's like, well, I have to do something about it, but I don't know what to do. And then, well, that'll work for now, but how do I know when to stop doing it, move on to something else? And then, there are many other options. But this tiny sliver of life takes up so much of our energy, just like this tiny sliver of my day takes up a lot of energy. And many of you may focus on our time together. I'm looking forward to our time together and might not put any thought into, well, what comes before it and what happens after it. So before the Gita, Arjun had many adventures in life. He lived like a prince for a while. He was also an orphan. He found his family again. So there was a lot going on. And then after, so I'm going to talk a little bit about after because, as mentioned, we're getting to the end of this year-long journey together. And I've had questions from more than one person. When I say, like, if you want to find out what the next chapter is, I invite you to the Buy Donation event, A Celebration of Sadhana, which as I record this live will be happening in a couple weeks. And you can get the information in the link below. And I've had people say, I don't see what's below. So from my experience on both my phone and my computer, when I'm done watching the video, I just scroll down and underneath there's a gray box. And right at the top of the gray box, there's a link. And if you're like, I can't find it for some reason, maybe you have a real old version of YouTube, a real old computer, or a real old phone. Basically, it's the link to our website. So right now, that website is dharmikkshetrayoga.com. And if you're like, I don't know how to spell that, one of our alternate names is welcomingdestiny.com. So just type that link in and find out what I'm talking about. How that relates is the Gita is all about Arjun figuring out his destiny. So what happens afterward? What happens after this sadhana? Well, I figured out my destiny. We'll find out. But he does realize his destiny. which is to become, along with his brothers, the rightful rulers of a vast empire. And what's fascinating for me in the Mahabharata is even though there's a lot after the Gita, a lot of what's after the Gita describes this war. And then there's some after it about, and then after the war and after they cleaned up everything and they got settled in, then they ruled for 30 some years. And it's like these few days take up this much. And in our minds, that's how much the struggle of life can take up in our brain waves, our our bandwidth. All the struggles in life we really focus on and they expand. And after the struggle, that time of peace, that time of certainty that we have for a bit, we go, oh, and then I had some peace. And it's on to the next thing. And that's kind of what happens. So I'm encouraging you today to really look at how much you focus on these little slices of life that represent struggle. And how much do you focus on what came before the struggle? Maybe the easy parts of life. Maybe the blessings you've received before that equip you to deal with what you're going through now, because you are equipped to deal with it. And then what comes after? In fact, we might cling to the struggle going, and then what? What happens when I'm done with the struggle? Nobody will see how strong I am. Life will lose some excitement. It'll just be a peaceful realm for 30 some years. We want that, or do we want that? So today's practice, I'm dedicating to, this is many, all those who experience the struggle, but also focus on their lives beyond it, outside of it. Because you can really get two different ways of interacting with people. Those who focus on the hardships of their lives, and those who focus on the periods of peace and calm between the hardships. And also those who focus on their own hardships in lives without extrapolating that other people also, every single person has their own struggle that they're going through. And how do we feel about the people that lead with their struggle versus lead with their not struggle? So, all those who can, who have that wisdom to lead with the not struggle, I salute you. And I dedicate this practice to you. Got my practice buddy, Oliver, here to supervise. You see him during his struggle. He hates when I go outside or anywhere without him. Let's do a balance pose. Right, bud? All right, let's focus on this 5 minutes of, why is my flashlight on? Well, that's a good thing to focus on. There we go. Otherwise, the battery would be dead before we were done. Anyway, yeah, maybe contemplate how much you do focus on your struggle and how much you focus on the grace periods before and after. Where does your attention get drawn? We'll find out for 5 minutes. Oh, your 5 minutes of struggle, little guy. Welcome back. You know, this ability to focus is a sign of a spiritually evolved person oftentimes. It's said in almost every spiritual tradition, you know, we are eternal souls. We spend a little bit of time embodied. Yet we really focus on the struggles of this moment of being embodied instead of the kind of eternity of peace that comes before and after, depending on your belief system, this embodiment. And those who really have the ability to focus beyond the struggle, like I've mentioned, the Dalai Lama and Bishop Desmond Tutu. I mean, look what inspirations they can be for all of us. You're an inspiration for me. I got to go give blood today. That's one of the things that's like focus on the struggle. An hour of in 2 months of I still have all my blood. No. I can't wait to see you again with less blood, but more love and hope. Hope. Till then.